All right, welcome back to the show, everybody. Hope y'all are having a good day so far. Okay, today is another one of those, I am way overdue on doing this, and you know who you are, and the comments, and you know how many times you've asked me to do this, and you've asked me to do this on the 24th, and I have not. So it's time to make up for it. I was totally planning on doing it this month for the 24th, but then the idea came along in my head to do that full game between the Bulls and Lakers, that crossover thing, and it seemed like you guys were really happy with that, so glad I did it. But now, I gotta react to this. This is the legend of Kobe Bryant, full career supercut by Clayton Crowley. Don't know why it's taking me so long to do this, but here we are now. So this is a super long video, hour and 14 minutes. I'm gonna split this up into two today. And that'll be the After Dark as well, okay? So I'll try to make this about halfway through, somewhere around like 35, 38 minutes, somewhere in there, find a good place to stop. So basically what I'm saying, both of these are gonna be long as hell videos, okay? So like close to an hour each. And it's time to get to it. I am feeling quite a bit better. Honestly, outside of like the COVID cough, the lingering cough, if you guys have ever had it, the cough seems to last forever, but I feel like that's all that's left now. Everything else is pretty good, so I call this a win. If I do cough, I apologize. I can't control it, but this will get better each and every day. So, okay, long intro. My apologies. Let's do this, guys. As always, I'm linking the original video down below in the description for you guys. So if you want to check out Clayton Crowley's channel, highly recommend it. The link is down below there for you. Also wanted to give a couple of quick shout outs here. Eric C, welcome back as far as rejoining membership wise. And then Reggie1866, welcome. Thank you very much. I really appreciate you joining in. And yeah, I'm going to be doing more of these full games. And I got to say, it's really cool having this membership feature now and having you guys support it, because that is opening the door for me to do a lot more of this stuff and just say screw to copyright. So welcome new members. You'll see a list of all the members currently in the description, and I want to thank every single one of you guys. So everyone, please like the video. It would help out a lot. Hit that hype button, and I promise the next intro will be much shorter. Let's rock.
Legends. The players that are remembered long after their playing days end, and indeed long after they too pass. The players that live on in mythology and reverence, that have influenced the game we see today. They are players who have set records, won championships, and captured our attention, etching their legacies into the foundations of this game. A legend is special, not simply because their talent set them apart, but because their stories transcend the individual. In fact, to me, that is what a legend is. A remarkable player who tells a story that enthralls us. So today,
what an intro.
I'd like to talk about the legend of Kobe Bryant.
Let's go. Hell of an intro. I was just checking. So this was released about 2 years ago.
The Black Mamba, Kobe Bean Bryant. Where do you start with one of the most polarizing, recognizable, famous basketball players of all time, who happens also to be one of its greatest? As enigmatic an athlete or person of interest as you are likely to find in the last 50 years of American pop culture. He was often a person that was difficult to describe, empathize with, or relate to. As his former teammate Brian Shaw said, Kobe sometimes isolated himself in his relentless pursuit to be the best who ever played the game. Bryant wore nearly every mask that can be worn. A winner, a loser, competitive, petty, selfish, unshakable, prodigy, flameout, idol, and pariah. Kobe spent every minute of his 20-year professional career with the Los Angeles Lakers, forging a legend that is one of the most interesting in contemporary sports. As he was in most aspects, Kobe Bryant's upbringing was atypical. He spent his formative years from ages 6 to 13 in Italy, where his father, Joe Jellybean Bryant, played professionally after a 5-year stint in the NBA.
Yeah, I got to see a little bit of him in a full game recently. Also, quick little side note, I saw this, I forgot what video, I think it was a Cosgrove video recently, and I saw Kobe Bryant like as a kid at a Phillies game, baseball. But he was a big Mets fan, so he was decked out in all Mets gear, and he looked like he was, I don't know, like 9 or 10 years old, something like that. Coolest footage ever. And then to hear him as an adult at another game wearing all Mets gear, and they're asking him why. And it turns out he was a huge Darryl Strawberry fan, and that, like, I just found this out like 2 nights ago, and that was my guy. Darryl Strawberry was the guy who made me love baseball. Unfortunately, he got into a drug habit and he kind of flamed out towards the end of his career. But I got like 81 of his cards. I was obsessed with Darryl Strawberry. But that's funny. Just something. Turns out, one more thing I had in common with Kobe, I guess.
There, Kobe became fluent in Italian as well as Spanish, acclimatized himself to Italian culture, and began falling in love with the game of basketball. When he did return to America with his family to Philadelphia at 13 years old, Bryant was faced with the same terrifying challenge that all teenage Americans must face: starting high school.
Oh, yeah.
But unlike most American teenagers, Bryant hadn't grown up in America. He had left his closest friends a continent away and had become so accustomed to the Italian language that he found it awkward to transition back to English, perplexed by American slang. He found it difficult to make friends, and so instead of going to parties, Kobe spent his weekends in the gym, honing his skills as a basketball player. He made the varsity roster as a freshman, but did more watching than playing as the Lower Merion Aces went 4-20 on the season. Still, his love of the game and confidence in his ability never wavered. He had the temperament of an obsessive, and in the face of the haunting loneliness of pubescent isolation, Kobe Bryant, like millions of other kids just like him, found solace in an empty gym watching leather go through nylon.
Yeah,
when he returned for his sophomore season, Kobe Bryant was ready. That freshman team had gone 4-20.
I mean, that's something that a lot of people don't talk about. 90% of all your training is going to be by yourself. You know, you alone, basketball court, basketball. That's where 90% of the magic is going to happen. Over the scrimmages and games and all this stuff you get to do with other people, that's fun.
Next 3 years, Kobe led the Aces to a 77-13 record.
Damn.
By his senior year, Kobe Bryant was the #1 high school prospect in the nation. He took home a trove of National Player of the Year awards after passing Wilt Chamberlain to become Philadelphia's all-time high school leading scorer and leading the Aces to their first state championship in over 50 years. Unlike other high school standouts from years prior, though, Kobe's senior year was not marked by a burning curiosity as to where he would go to college. The basketball world wondered if he would go to college. The year prior, in the 1995 NBA draft, Kevin Garnett had declared his intention to forego college and make himself eligible to be drafted directly out of high school. And with the 5th overall pick, the Minnesota Timberwolves made Kevin Garnett the first basketball player in 20 years to be drafted right out of high school.
Okay, I gotta say, I'm not a big fan of kids coming right out of high school into the NBA, especially now with all the big money involved and everything. But can you imagine being a high school kid? Well, like, you just graduate from high school. Next thing you know, you're on that stage. You're right here on this stage, and you're in the freaking NBA. Like, could you? I couldn't. My mind would just blow.
The decision opened the floodgates. Obviously, as the top prospect in the nation, virtually every college in the country was vying for Bryant's commitment. But all of a sudden, there was the possibility that this 17-year-old kid could just say, "Forget it. I'm ready. This is my time. I'm going pro." At a press conference in 1996, wearing some painfully 90s sunglasses atop his bald head, the phenom did just that.
No, I have decided to skip college and take my talent to the NBA.
In the 1996 NBA draft, the Los Angeles Lakers were looking to free up cap space in order to land the most physically dominant player basketball had seen since Wilt Chamberlain.
Yeah, one of the greatest draft classes of all time right there. Like, damn. You want to get a box of cards from this year? It's so expensive.
One Shaquille O'Neal. After 4 successful seasons with the Orlando Magic, Shaq wanted a new team in a bigger market. In order to free up the space,
he wanted more money, guys. Let's be real. He's talked about it 1,000 times. We know what the real reason. He wanted that money. And yeah, going to Los Angeles would be a no-brainer as well.
Needed to sign O'Neal, the Lakers made a draft day trade with the Charlotte Hornets, sending them center Vlade Divac and his behemoth contract in exchange for the 13th overall pick.
And Vlade almost blocked this whole thing because he threatened to retire because he didn't want to play anywhere other than the Lakers. But he eventually changed his mind, kind of out of loyalty to the Lakers, because the Lakers convinced him, like, hey, we need this to happen. You know, it's a big deal for us. So he was like, fine, I'll do it. And then he continued to play. And ironically enough, he had great years in Sacramento after this. But I just thought it was ironic, like he was that loyal. And also, if he was stubborn enough, Vlade Divac could have changed the course of history in basketball. Shaq doesn't go to LA. Kobe Shaq is not a thing. Who knows if Phil Jackson gets involved? God knows what the hell would have happened if Vlade just said, no, screw you. I'm staying here or I retire.
Having impressed Lakers GM Jerry West during a pre-draft workout with that 13th pick, Kobe Bryant became the first guard ever drafted from high school into the NBA and just the 6th player to ever get drafted straight out of high school. He was so young at the time, just 17 years old, that his parents had to co-sign his rookie contract. About 3 weeks later, on July 18th, 1996, the Lakers signed Shaquille O'Neal, now possessing everything they would need to create what would be one of the defining basketball dynasties of the 21st century. In hindsight, of course, there aren't 12 players in NBA history that would be taken ahead of Kobe Bryant. But it was a good thing that the draft shook out the way that it did. Kobe landed on the right team without the expectations to immediately make an impact that a number 1 pick would carry. He impressed in the Summer League, and when he debuted in the NBA on November 2nd, 1996, he was the 2nd youngest NBA player in history, at just 18 years and 72 days old. Throughout that first year, Kobe acclimated to the professional ranks and the culture and pressure that surrounds a team with championship aspirations. He came off of the bench for most of the year, spending most of his time dazzling crowds with his athleticism, even winning that year's dunk contest. Despite his growing popularity as a rising star on the most famous franchise in professional basketball, though, he was kept on a pretty short leash that first season, averaging just 15 minutes a game and earning a spot on the league's all-rookie second team. He had held his own and had proven wrong everyone who had doubted his ability to produce and compete in the NBA straight out of high school. But for the most part, in the big picture, Bryant's rookie season was kind of unremarkable. At least it was.
Well, I mean, to be fair, though, also, I'll rewind. But to be fair, dude, Kobe came in and with automatic Jordan comparisons. Everybody from day one was like, oh, Kobe's the future, you know, and everything. They would even ask Jordan about it, you know. What do you think about Kobe, you know, and like basically carrying on your legacy and all this stuff. Like all this pressure was on this kid. Meanwhile, the Lakers had a different plan. It was let's slowly integrate him, but with the amount of pressure that was on him, that level of expectation, I think as fans we feel like it was unremarkable. But really, you know, like I get that it would take a couple of years for him to get fully integrated, and that would be for the best thing for his career because he came in so early. But you know, people like to judge Kobe for that for whatever reason, which was weird because he got a head start by not going to college. You know what I mean? But anyways,
the Lakers season. In the playoffs, the Lakers met the Utah Jazz in the second round. After 4 games, the Jazz had the Lakers on the ropes with a 3-1 series lead. In Game 5, a do-or-die game for the Lakers, in Utah, LA found themselves shorthanded after Byron Scott missed the game with an injury, Robert Horry was ejected for fighting, and Shaquille O'Neal fouled out in the 4th quarter. Without their best player, in a win-or-go-home scenario in an increasingly close game, 18-year-old rookie Kobe Bryant put on his cape. Or at least, he tried to.
Yeah.
He scored a team-high 9 points in the fourth, setting up a potential game-winning shot that he airballed.
Yep.
For all his life,
No
Kobe
legs.
had dreamed of being the guy to take the big shots. In overtime, he found himself in a nightmare. He went on to airball 3 three-pointers in the period, 2 of which came in the last minute and would have tied the game.
All short.
The
All
Lakers-
short by a mile. No legs. He's talked about it. That's what happens. He was not he's used to high school. He was not used to an NBA season. He had 0 legs at this point.
Season ended in a 98-93 overtime loss, with Kobe registering 11 points on a putrid 4 of 14 shooting split. In the most important game of the season, with an opportunity that rarely presents itself to rookies, Kobe Bryant didn't just miss one important shot. He airballed 4 of the biggest shots of the game.
Yep. And I swear, I don't remember this distinctly, but everybody must have been saying, "Oh, he's a choker," and it's ironic that it turns out he just had no legs. He was not afraid of the moment. He was not choking. He was airballing, is what was happening, but he was not scared of the moment, and he never was scared of the moment after this. Became one of the most clutch performers of all time. Crazy how it works.
All of a sudden, those doubters that he'd silenced in the regular season had reason to chirp. He's too immature. He needed to go to college. He needs an ego check. But at the same time, how about the balls on the kid? To come into the game as an 18-year-old rookie and never stop shooting, even when you're throwing up bricks? Sure, they lost, and he had something to do with it. But still, it takes confidence.
And to be fair, he was the reason they were in that game. So he made them and he broke them.
Which is exactly the kind of thing that makes Kobe Bryant so objectively great and still so bitterly polarizing. We'll dive more into his confidence and mindset later, but this game exists as a surreally perfect foreshadowing of the Kobe Bryant experience. For everything that he did that reaffirmed his greatness to his supporters, the same things would be pointed to by his detractors as evidence of his flaws. On the one hand, Kobe is wired like few others. He believes in himself above all else. He'll miss some game winners, maybe even shoot his team out of some games, but he'll make those game winners too. On the other hand, that confidence and self-determination can come at the detriment to the team. Over the next few years, Kobe's responsibilities steadily increased as he continued to sharpen his skills. In his second year, he was runner-up for the 6th Man of the Year award and became the youngest All-Star starter in history thanks to the league's fan voting. And in his third year, he assumed the role of the team's full-time starting shooting guard, starting all 50 games of the lockout-shortened 1999 season, averaged nearly 20 points a game, and was a third-team All-NBA selection. All the while, Kobe's improvement as an individual had a nearly linear relationship with the team's performance. Of course, at this time, Shaquille O'Neal was still the best player on the Lakers, and arguably the best player in the sport.
Agreed.
But Kobe had quickly become one of the premier perimeter players in the world, giving the Lakers a 1-2 center-guard combo that hadn't been seen since the days of Kareem and Magic Johnson.
1-2 punch, man.
Finally, before the 1999...
Everyone's so caught up on big threes and all this nowadays, but I swear, a solid 1-2 punch is really what you need. 1-2 punch, role players.
2000 NBA season, the final piece fell into place. The Lakers employed the talents of the man who would retire with more championship rings than any other coach in major North American sports. The Zen Master.
Can we get a quick shout out for Jerry West in the comments? Like, not only one of the greatest basketball players of all time, great coach, and one of the best GMs I've ever seen. Like, he put all this stuff together.
Phil Jackson. As his nickname implies, Jackson believed in a mindful, inclusive, holistic style of coaching, minimizing egos, encouraging cooperation, and often employing unorthodox methods to promote team synergy. The same principles he had used to guide Michael Jordan and the Chicago Bulls to 6 championships in 8 years. Armed with the best center in the league, one of the brightest new stars in the sport, and one of the most prolific coaches in NBA history, the new look Lakers ripped off a 3-year stretch that stands among the best a basketball team has ever enjoyed. The Lakers three-peated, winning the 2000, 2001, and 2002 championships, and it's important to point out again that those 3 championship teams belonged to Shaq.
Yeah, I hated these Lakers so much at this point.
They were his team, and he was the finals MVP in each championship series. I say that because I know that this is Kobe's story, and it wouldn't be right to frame those titles as just his.
Yeah.
But that's not to say that he didn't leave his mark on each championship,
Not Superman
or
and
that
Batman.
he wasn't vital to their success.
Superman and Batman.
Their first championship was perhaps their hardest. In the finals, Shaq was unstoppable. But true to form, Kobe made a mark in a truly memorable way. He had injured his ankle in Game 2, which had forced him to miss the rest of that game and all of Game 3. He returned in Game 4, tentatively easing himself into the action with a slow 6-point first half. But as the game progressed, an opportunity presented itself. In an exceptionally close game throughout, he began heating up in the second half, keeping pace and finding his rhythm as the game came down to the wire and went into overtime. And there, in OT, after Shaq fouled out, Kobe Bryant put on the cape. Remember, this was a pivotal Game 4. Win, and the Lakers go up 3-1. Lose, and the finals would be tied at 2-2. Without the best player in the league, Bryant submitted a heroic performance, nailing 4 of his 5 shots in the overtime period, with none more important than a tip-in off a missed shot with just 15 seconds remaining, giving the Lakers a 3-point lead.
So this is the point where anybody who, during his rookie season in the playoffs against Utah, was calling him a choker, they had to eat their words right here.
In total, Kobe scored 22 of his 28 points in the second half and overtime.
Crazy.
He had come through on the biggest stage, had proven that he was the guy with the guts to take big shots, and the talent to make them. A far cry from airballs in Utah. After the game and the subsequent championship, a comparison that had once sounded outlandish no longer seemed so far-fetched. That comparison, of course, is of Kobe Bryant and Michael Jordan. It had started years earlier, almost from the moment that Bryant stepped onto an NBA court for the very first time. Remember, Bryant became the Lakers' starting shooting guard the year after Jordan retired from the Bulls. Without the most popular basketball player ever, fans and journalists searched for the player that would fill that gargantuan power vacuum. For years, the title of the next Jordan would be applied to dozens of young players. Players like Grant Hill, Allen Iverson, LeBron James, Vince Carter, Ray Allen, and Jerry Stackhouse all at one point or another had their talents, tendencies, and attitudes compared to number 23.
Y'all remember Harold Miner?
All to varying degrees of accuracy and success.
Yeah, and the only one it stuck with was Kobe. That was the only one. He kind of lived up to the expectation.
But none of them captured the real essence of Michael Jordan the way that Kobe Bryant
And that's something I didn't understand when I was younger. I used to see the skill set. So you see a Vince Carter or something, and you're like, yeah, okay, that might be the next Jordan. But until Kobe came around, I did not understand so much that, okay, Jordan's skill set can be kind of duplicated or at least like mimicked. That mindset, though, that mindset is the difference maker. That's what separated him, and say like a guy like Larry Bird from everybody else is that will to win. And Kobe had it. He had to hone it in those early years, because he was still young and immature, just like Jordan did in his time. But once Kobe got it, the will was always there. The direction was what Phil Jackson really came into play, in my opinion, was directing that fire that was in Kobe, that desire to win, and then directing it in a positive way because it's a team sport,
Sure, they played the same position and were roughly the same height and build, but their similarities go far beyond their physical traits. The two shared a quality that few, if any, players have been able to emulate in the 20-plus years since the GOAT retired. Their drive. Michael Jordan was a famously competitive individual who was never outworked, who never lost a contest of who wants it more. He was willing to do anything to win, and believed that only by applying the highest standard of excellence to himself and his teammates was it possible to achieve his goals. Could that sound any more like Kobe Bryant? Kobe's confidence, even from his rookie year in the league, was rooted in the fact that he had spent the time and done the work that no one else had. He was addicted to studying film, experimenting with, tweaking, and adopting new moves. He loved basketball as much as nearly anything else in his life, and tirelessly dedicated himself to becoming the best player that he could possibly be. Nearly every player, nearly every person whose career path intersected his has a Kobe Bryant working out like a crazy person story.
I never heard Clayton cuss.
And I haven't even mentioned the fact that Kobe Bryant had an array of talents and moves that looked eerily similar to Mike's.
Oh, yeah.
One of Kobe's first loves was the pull-up jumper, a move that gave him mastery of the mid-range, going back to his high school days. In those younger years, he had world-class athleticism, a lightning-quick first step, and delivered some of the famous dunks and posters to ever be printed.
I love that one.
His jab step was absolutely lethal, and he developed moves and combinations in conjunction with it that always kept the defense guessing. He was a defensive pest as a youth, and was a perennial defensive team selection.
Jeez.
He was a complete basketball player with very few holes in his game. And maybe most importantly, Kobe had a supernatural gift of locking into and channeling the moment, never allowing himself to be too far removed from it. He lived for the big moments, relished the chances when the raucous roar of the crowd would fall on his deaf ears as his total concentration fixed into place on the task at hand.
I can attest to this 100% because I have been to a playoff game, Suns versus Lakers, and it's in Phoenix, our entire crowd chanting, "Kobe sucks." I'm doing it too, because we're big time rivals at this point, and Kobe just kept looking at the crowd. Man, he heard us. Oh yeah, he heard us. We were loud, and he kept busting our ass, man, jumper after jumper, and he would just look at the crowd like y'all are stupid. I realized after that game, we were stupid for doing that. Yeah, don't poke the bear. I didn't realize what a bear he was at that point, but yeah, don't poke this guy. It just makes him better.
Now, who does that sound like?
MJ, yeah, same thing.
I have an entire video dedicated to the 2001 Lakers and how great they were in the playoffs, because they were great. In fact, it might well be the best postseason an NBA team has ever had. The combination of Kobe and Shaq was apocryphal for other teams. Both players had always known that on any given night, one of them could go off for 40. But the power of that team came from the realization that when one got hot, it wasn't an invitation for the other to take the back seat. They averaged nearly 60 points combined in the playoffs. They went 15-1 through the playoffs, as close to a clean sweep as any team has ever gotten.
Yep.
They faced stiff competition, becoming just the second team in history to defeat 4 straight 50-win teams, and posted the highest net rating of any playoff team ever. And unlike the previous year, Kobe's contributions in the finals were almost just as impressive as his gargantuan teammates. His numbers reflected his newfound stature in the league as perhaps the sport's best all-around player.
I mean, to be completely honest, all of us who weren't in California, I guess, because you all probably felt different, but all of us not in California, we almost felt like this wasn't fair, you know? And yeah, I mean, it was a fair game. They signed Shaq, they drafted Kobe, everything was fair. But it felt so stacked, and it wasn't until the Miami Big Three where I was like, okay, I can forget about it, because for years we held on to this. Like, dude, that Lakers team was just like so unbalanced so lopsided compared to the rest of the league. But yeah, then a Miami Big Three thing happened, and it's like, okay, no, that's unfair, you know, that's some bullshit.
And the totality of his contributions just might be the best that a sidekick has ever produced in basketball history.
No sidekick.
And for the 2002 championship, Kobe played the role of assassin. He was a monster in the finals, accounting for 25% of the team's points, and was at his absolute best in the fourth quarters. as I say in the 01 Lakers video,
people don't like to simplify things. And to simplify, Shaq was, I mean, okay, Kobe was doing his thing all 4 quarters, right? But Shaq was the dominant force in the first 3 quarters, first 3.5 quarters, sometimes you can say. In closing time, if we're at a close game, it's Kobe Bryant time, okay? So he was the actual closer. Shaq was the guy who set the table, and Kobe, you know, whatever. Whatever comes after that analogy. You know what I mean? Kobe closed the deal. And why? Because Shaq couldn't make free throws. If Shaq could have actually made free throws, he could have been all 4 quarters the guy. But that's not the case with him. He always needed a closer. That's why I don't say a co-star or, you know, a whatever, you know, a Robin. No. This is like a Superman, Batman kind of situation. You know, Superman out there kicking ass. His kryptonite is the 4th quarter and free throws. And then that's where Batman comes in and starts whooping some ass. It was a great team.
Kobe never resigned to be Robin. Instead, he was the Batman to Shaq's Superman.
Thank you.
I mean, even in 03, when the Lakers had an underwhelming regular season and saw their title run end at the hand of the Spurs in the 2nd round, Kobe emerged as a legit MVP candidate. It was the year he arrived as an authentic every night scorer and saw him begin to post the outlandish numbers that we would come to expect from him. He set the NBA record for most threes in a game against Seattle. He had a 9-game stretch of 40 or more points. He averaged 40 points a game for the entire month of February and finished the season 3rd in MVP voting. There's a reason it's so rare to three-peat. There's a reason that there's only one instance of a team winning 4 or more championships in a row. It's fucking hard.
Whoa.
You're playing every game of basketball possible, from September or October until June, year after year, getting every team's best shot at you. Not to mention...
Yeah, that's why we always see the... by the 3rd year, the team is normally busted up. There's injuries. Everyone is exhausted. There's normally like some in-house fighting and stuff going on. Because these guys, they're not getting a break. You know what I mean? They're going all the way to the very end. They're exhausted. They get that relief of winning a championship, but then you blink and the next season starts. So they're not getting enough rest. And back then, these guys weren't load managing. So they had to continue to push through. That 3rd one seems almost impossible for everyone. The Lakers... both of the Bulls, 93 and 98, it was like the wheels were falling off at that point. Yeah, and you know, there was never a 4th, even though the Bulls is a tricky situation. But look at the Lakers. With them, it was like fatigue, injuries, and in-house fighting that prevented them from winning a 4th in a row.
The attention and pressure that comes with being such a talented team, combined with the fact that if you are a team that is good enough to win so many championships, odds are you have some egos and some characters in the locker room. Those Lakers did something that has not been done in the nearly 2 decades since.
I know.
Was it Shaq's team? Yes. Would those Lakers have won 3 championships without Kobe Bean Bryant? No chance.
Absolutely not. Yeah.
And speaking of egos, I've yet to mention the facet of those Lakers that is nearly as memorable as their talent. The power struggle between Shaq and Kobe. It is a famous beef, and the genesis of the beef, as far as I can tell, goes back to the 01 Lakers, when Shaq came into camp out of shape after just having had his best season ever, while Kobe grinded away in the gym all summer.
Well, we've seen the 2 of them sit down and talk about it, and yes, that's exactly what Kobe said. This is what pissed him off.
Kobe wanted Shaq to work as hard as he did, and Shaq wanted Kobe to back off and respect the fact that the Lakers belonged to him. Of course, then you get snide attacks through the media, offhand comments that wound up in tabloids, and a general air of hostility and discomfort plaguing the team to different degrees at different times. Every time they were winning, things were simpatico. But when they lost, fingers got pointed, and everyone had an opinion on who was right, who was wrong, and whose team it should be. It was a Shakespearean conflict. These guys were so talented, and their styles complemented each other so well, but they were wired so differently. At the same time, they were both wired the same in the respect that they were both alpha dogs.
Fair enough.
Which, of course, only caused more friction.
I know.
And that was their relationship for most of their time together. Begrudging allies who doubled as a world-conquering duo. So after the three-peat, and after they finally fell off the mountain in 03, the question that needed answering was, can these two continue to coexist? Because the only way it seemed worth it for them is because they knew they were great together, and because they were winning championships. But before that question could be answered, before the 2003-2004 NBA season, Kobe Bryant was arrested in Colorado in connection with a sexual assault investigation. The charges were later dropped after the accuser refused to testify, and a civil suit was later settled out of court. Throughout the process, Kobe maintained his innocence and claimed that the relationship had been consensual. I have no interest in telling you what I think, nor am I here to grandstand and lecture you on what you should think.
I'm right there with Clayton. What the hell do I know? All I know is what you know.
How you should regard Kobe's legacy or anything like that. Whether the accusations were true or not, Kobe did afterwards become a more vocal advocate for women in women's sports, especially as he became a father to 4 daughters. Think what you want about it. This video is not about this incident, and I saw something, but it wasn't appropriate but I have to point this out. China Robinson. Oh man, back then it probably wasn't as funny, but that's a funny name now. Think what you want about it. This video is not about this incident, and I do not have a conclusion you should take away. But it would be wildly irresponsible to talk about the legend of Kobe Bryant and not spend at least some time talking about the facts of an incredibly serious accusation that sullied his reputation.
It did.
And remains, in the most conservative language possible, a controversial point of contention.
And in my opinion, this is when the NBA started blackballing Kobe. Now, Kobe was obviously able to overcome this, but this is when they switched gears from Kobe because Kobe was the face of the league at this point, you guys. They switched from Kobe right to LeBron. And there was no looking back. No matter what Kobe accomplished, it didn't matter. All they focused on was LeBron. And I think it was because of this. It makes sense what happened and why it happened. But it's also important to bring this up because this enters an era in Kobe's career where we're about to see it. So, the stuff he did on a court during this time when he's flying back and forth between the courthouse and to the games, sometimes he would show up in like the second quarter, second half. But whenever he could show up, he would show up, and he just went into like pure assassin mode on the court.
So, with all of that having been said, the 2004 Lakers season was a mess. Because they were the team at the time, they'd attracted players who were desperate to win a championship and escape the curse of eternal ringlessness, leading Karl Malone and Gary Payton to don the purple and gold. Kobe was missing games due to court appearances, and Shaq missed 15 games due to injury, while the arrest, the super team roster, and the escalating feud between superstars cast a pall over the entire endeavor. And the feud was at an all-time high. Before the season, Kobe had criticized Shaq in an ESPN interview, questioning his leadership and willingness to sacrifice.
I wanted to see that full quote. Leaders don't beg for a contract extension and negotiate some $30 million plus per year deal in the media when we have 2 future Hall of Famers playing here pretty much for free. Wow, Kobe Bryant. Yeah, okay. So he's talking about Gary Payton and Karl Malone as far as those 2 future Hall of Famers that are there basically for free, and Shaq is there demanding more money in the media. Fair. Now, Kobe's problem here is, why are you saying this to ESPN? The hell are you thinking? Because you're doing the exact same thing you're pissed off at Shaq for doing, which is like, why are you talking to the media about your contract? Well, Kobe, why are you calling out Shaq in the media about him talking about, and about the contract? That was a huge problem between these two. Instead of talking to each other, they were talking to the media. And then everybody was, everyone talking shit at that point.
An interview, questioning his leadership and willingness to sacrifice. As the season progressed, this bitter resentment seemed to grow into what seemed like real hatred for one another. But of course, they found themselves in the finals yet again. Because they were the best 1-2 punch ever. And because this time they got a little lucky.
Oh, man.
In those 2004 finals,
I saw that
the
live.
Lakers, with an absolutely star-studded roster of Hall of Famers and all-time role players, squared up against a Detroit Pistons team that were 6-1 underdogs. The Pistons were a team of misfit toys.
Hey, fun random question. Anybody here in the audience right now watching? Anybody place a bet on that one? 6-1 odds? Anybody have the nerve to bet against the Lakers in this situation? Because I wouldn't have done it, but I sure was rooting for them.
Players that did not fit the mold of superstars, that had nonetheless come together, playing with the type of unity and selflessness that belong in a Disney movie. Only Ben Wallace was an All-NBA selection, and he was a second-teamer at that. A lot of people lost a lot of money when the Detroit Pistons won the 2004 NBA championship. And make no mistake, the Pistons didn't just get lucky. They smoked the Lakers in 5 games. It's one of the great upsets of all time, right up there with the 2011 Mavs and the 77 Blazers. As time has gone on, the 04 Lakers have become something of a parable. Something that warns against the dangers of ego, selfishness, divisiveness, a lack of chemistry, and star power thoughtlessly tossed together.
This whole thing taught me a lot about the ego and how important it is to check your freaking ego sometimes for the benefit of the team. And I'm not even talking about in basketball sense, just in my regular life.
In the following days, the Shaq and Kobe dynasty fell to bits. The castle had crumbled, and there was no putting it back together. Shaq had finally had enough and demanded a trade, landing on the Miami Heat. Gary Payton was traded to the Celtics. Karl Malone never played again. Point guard Derek Fisher left for the Golden State Warriors.
That's right.
And Phil Jackson retired after allegedly telling Lakers brass that he would not return if Kobe was still on the roster. Which just left Kobe. At this point, he may well have been the most reviled athlete in America. He had run Shaq, the best player on their 3 championship teams, out of town, driven the great Phil Jackson into retirement, and was still being accused of a heinous crime. And the cherry on top, not that there really needed to be one, was the fact that Kobe Bryant played horrifically in the finals. He'd put up 22 points a night, but on just 38% shooting from the field, 17% from 3, and with over 3.5 turnovers per game. He'd finally gotten what he'd always wanted. He was the alpha dog, the leader of the team, but only because he was the last man standing. And that's kind of what he evolved into. A cowboy, a gunslinger, the last man standing. He dropped a lot of his commercially appropriate image and just said fuck it. He had no one left but the person he trusted the most in the world. Himself.
It's like, imagine, except for, I mean, it would have been a much younger Jordan. But in 1998, when the team, you know, the organization was ready to blow up the team, they would get rid of the coach, get rid of Pippen, get rid of everybody, right? And then just build for the future. Well, they offered Jordan a contract. They offered Jordan a big contract to stay and be part of a rebuild. And Jordan was saying all year, I don't want to be part of a rebuild. We're defending our title right now. Why the hell would I be part of a rebuild? We're looking to win now. But imagine if Jordan would have actually said, okay, I'll stick around, take the money, and everyone's gone. You know, so you go from winning championships to like, you're all alone on this team. Everything you built is gone. Now, obviously, the circumstances are different here, and young Kobe with his high ego at this point, you know, call it what you want, but Phil Jackson didn't want anything to do with him, and Shaq didn't want to have anything to do with him anymore. So it is what it is, and this is that period of time of Kobe's career. I was not a fan of you know, how inflated his ego was back then. 24 Kobe is that's the Kobe that I absolutely I shifted gears, and I'm like, oh my God, now he's acting like Jordan. Now he really looks like Jordan. You know, he's composed. He doesn't look like, you know, he checked his ego. And, you know, sometimes you need to lose things. And, you know, young Kobe thought he can do it all by himself. Then he loses his coach. He loses his co-star. And, you know, he realizes how hard it is because he really struggled those couple of years without his help. Then Phil Jackson comes back, and I think he learned to appreciate it because those guys went from hating each other to, well, they were friends to the very end. Good friend. Talk about going fly fishing and just having, you know, philosophical conversations. Those two really, really figured it out at the end. And all it was an ego check. And like I said, sometimes you got to lose things very important until you can realize just how important it was and that everybody needs some help.
During Kobe's first season as a solo artist, Phil released a book titled The Last Season, going into detail about the drama of the Lakers, and particularly the shortcomings of the uncoachable Kobe Bryant. Kobe, in turn, revealed that he had created an alternate identity for himself, the Black Mamba, a creature that, as Bryant described, can strike with 99% accuracy at maximum speed in rapid succession. Aside from the fact that he gave himself a nickname, the Black Mamba title seemed extra comical after Kobe shot 43% on the year and the Lakers finished with their worst record in over a decade, missing the playoffs for just the 5th time in franchise history. It was the first time that Kobe had been able to be the undisputed best player of the team, to put that team on his back and take full credit for the wins and full blame for the losses.
I'm not gonna lie, that year I watched him close. He took some wild ass shots, but this was like, imagine like 85 Jordan. This is what it was. You know, your team sucks and you've got the green light to do whatever the hell you want. Go for it. You know, and it is what it is. Kobe got this later on in his career than Jordan did. But it was the same situation. Just do whatever the hell you want out there. So Kobe was taking crazy shots that I was not a fan of at this time.
And the Lakers stunk out loud.
Their roster was terrible.
Which brings us to Kobe's 2006 season. Easily one of the strangest individual seasons a player has had in the last 30 years. The weirdness started early, with a return to the sideline for none other than Phil Jackson. That's right. Just 1 year after roasting Kobe as a player, and to some extent as a person, Phil took up the reins and again became the head coach of the Los Angeles Lakers.
Thanks, Genie Bus.
The results that first year were somewhat mixed. The team finished with a 45-37 record and qualified for the playoffs, but it's the way they got there that remains noteworthy.
Good Lord.
Despite the results of the year prior, and despite Phil's guidance in the triangle offense, Kobe doubled down. Hell, he tripled down on his warpath. He still wouldn't cede anything to a player he thought wasn't working hard enough. After all, why give the ball to someone who isn't as good and who doesn't work as hard? Kobe bet on himself and became a one-man army the likes of which had not been seen since the early days of Michael Jordan. I'm talking 35 points per game for the entire season, becoming just the 5th player to ever top 35 a night. I'm talking about a scoring average of 43.4 points for the entire month of January.
Crazy.
The highest ever for a player that isn't Wilt Chamberlain. That season saw the legions of Kobe Bryant fans start to say to the world, look at this. This is our guy. He gives it all every night and he does everything.
At this point, I was still not a fan of his shot selection, but boy, he definitely had my full attention. I'll just put it that way. Like, holy crap! If he can figure out that this is a team game and he needs his team, you know, he needs to get his team involved in order to win. It's game over. It's game over for the league.
Believes in himself over everything and is unafraid of anything. Meanwhile, the rest of the basketball world entrenched itself into a totally different camp. They took up the banner that said that Kobe Bryant was a narcissistic ball hog who froze out his teammates and lacked the awareness or selflessness to include his teammates in all the ways that are necessary for winning. Nothing provided ammo for those two camps like his 2 most famous performances of the year. Perhaps 2 of the most famous performances of his career. In the first, Kobe Bryant scored 62 points in just the first 3 quarters against the Dallas Mavericks. As a team through 3 quarters, the Mavs had scored 61
Yeah, he outscored the whole
points.
team.
Yeah. Kobe had outscored the entire Mavs team by himself.
Yeah, it's stupid. It's just stupid.
Insane. And then, just a few weeks later, the Black Mamba submitted the second greatest scoring effort in NBA history. On January 22nd, 2006, in a home game against the Toronto Raptors, Kobe Bryant scored 81 points. And make no mistake, this was not something that he did just for his ego or just to set a record. The Lakers needed it from him. After a somehow pedestrian 26-point first half from Bryant, the Raptors still held a 14-point halftime lead. In the second half, through sheer will, focus, and talent, Kobe kept the Lakers in the game, nailing shot after shot after shot
Crazy.
Until they took the lead and eventually walked out of the building with a win.
81 of 122. That's just silly, yo.
But of course, his detractors will point out the fact that he finished the night with just 2 assists.
Yeah.
That was the kind of year Kobe Bryant had. He finished 4th in MVP voting, but had the second most first place votes. It was the first year where you either loved Kobe Bryant or you hated Kobe Bryant, with no in between. And the weirdest thing of that season still hadn't even happened. In the first round of the playoffs, the Lakers matched up against the Phoenix Suns and the winner of the MVP award, Steve Nash. The Lakers took a 3-1 lead through the first 4 games of the series, with Kobe emphatically sealing a Game 4 win with not 1, but 2 all-time clutch plays. And then, the Lakers blew it. The series went down to a 7th game, where Kobe had the most perplexing game of his career. A productive 23-point first half, followed by a 1-point second
When I
half.
say I wasn't a fan of number 8 Kobe, but I was a fan of number 24 Kobe, this is why. Because this kind of stuff was still in his head.
Kobe Bryant took just 3 shots in the second half of the most important game of the season.
And why? Because all the media and everybody called him out for being a ball hog after game 6. So in game 7, I don't know what. I mean, I'm thankful he did it because I'm a Suns fan, and that opened the door for us to win this game. It was a game 7, do or die. But me watching this, my jaw was dropped. How could Kobe do this? And still to this day, to me, you know, you could point out like the rookie year, the airballing and all that stuff. That don't mean shit to me. He's a rookie, you know, fresh out of high school. This was the most shocking thing I've ever seen from Kobe. And at this point, I got to tell you guys the truth. I thought he would never change, but he did. He does. And that's going to be, I mean, I'm going to have to stop this right after this series pretty much. But in the After Dark, that's when we're going to see all the mature Kobe. And I think this played a big part. This might have been like the final nail in the coffin to kill this version of himself, you know, where he became a guy who would do anything to win. It wasn't just about himself anymore. It was winning, because that was the only thing that was going to shut everybody like me up, you know, because I was one of them at the time talking trash. The only way to shut me up is to win championships and do it in a team way, you know, not going out there and scoring 60 a game, but do it. You lead a team, you know, show me that you're a good captain and you can lead a team to glory. And then that's how my mind would change. And he does exactly that in the future. So, you know, I think this was the breaking point. Stop listening to what other people say. Be you. Win.
In the midst of one of the great individual seasons ever, the same Kobe Bryant that scored 81 points in a game checked out and refused to shoot for whatever reason in what ended up being a 31-point loss. He was called stupid and selfish by none other than the Los Angeles Times. And just to pour salt in the wound, you know who won the championship in 2006?
Oh, man.
The Miami Heat, led by a thrilling young shooting guard named Dwayne Wade and his partner in crime, Shaquille O'Neal.
And during this time, this is when I was a huge Dwayne Wade fan. Actually, the year prior to this, from his rookie year in 03, huge Dwayne Wade fan. And I used to say it. I preferred Dwayne Wade's play style over Kobe's because I felt like Dwayne Wade played a less selfish play style, and he would only take over when it was needed, not starting in the first quarter. And, him winning a championship like this so early on, I'm like, yeah, see, this guy's got the right mindset. Of course, injuries and all that stuff occur later on. And he didn't quite get to that level that I was hoping he would. But for a couple of years there, my God, he looked like the second coming of Michael Jordan to me.
It does not get weirder than that. After the season, Bryant decided to make a change.
Okay. That's perfect. Wow. That's perfect. We're pretty much right at the halfway point. And this will be, because, there's two identities to Kobe. You got 8 and 24. 24 is the one I really like talking about. 8 is the one, he had to go on his journey to conquer his ego. And like I said, I think that series against my Suns, what he did there, that was the straw that broke the camel's back. Even though the funny thing is I don't even know what the hell that means, that analogy. But I think that's the correct analogy. I think that was it. And everything that follows is where I became a fan of. And it was funny because that's right when I wrote him off. Because I wrote him off after that series against Phoenix after that Game 7. I'm like, no, this guy don't have it. He can't lead a team. It's not going to happen. I don't care how good he is at scoring. He's not a good leader. And then 1 year later, he's about to shut my ass up. He came out of nowhere. Anyways, you guys, that's the first half. I will see you tonight for the After Dark. If you guys are interested in joining me for the second half of Kobe's career, or the story of Kobe Bryant, I should say. And I'm looking forward to it because that's the Kobe I really... that's the Kobe that ended up basically inspiring me in my darkest times in life, as ironic as it is. And it just shows like he really conquered his demons. And I'm glad he did, because he grew up to be a person I could learn some things off of before his time was up. And I'm very thankful for this guy. So anybody who's watching his first half and you're like, Mike Grime, you're talking shit about Kobe. Nah, man. Yeah, y'all don't get it yet. Y'all just don't get it yet. I wasn't a fan of young Kobe. That's damn right. I'll always speak the truth. I'll always talk about how his ego was his worst enemy in his early years in the NBA. Absolutely. Why? Because it was true. Okay? Now, the beautiful story is most people, especially at a level of him, a talent level of Kobe Bryant, would never consider conquering their own ego. They would never do it. It would only amplify over time. Look at Shaquille O'Neal. Shaquille O'Neal, I saw him on opening night this season, on Inside the NBA. Wemby had like 40 points, 20 rebounds, something stupid. One of the craziest highlight reels I've ever seen. Wemby is an absolute monster, attacking the rim with no mercy. And in Shaq, still, because, the guys were kind of like joking around about it with him. Like, hey, yeah, he'd kill Shaq. He'd cook you. Shaq is like, yeah, it's nothing special. Yeah, what I saw with Wemby is nothing special. That's what I thought Kobe was going to turn into. A guy who's like, he takes everything so personal as like a personal attack because he has a fragile ego. But to conquer that is huge. It takes an ego death in order to achieve that. And I didn't expect Kobe to do it, but he did it. And he came back 10 times the man that he was before. So those of you who think I'm hating on Kobe, no, I'm trying to like make sure the story gets told proper, because what we miss in this, we see a lot of highlights and cool stuff, cool plays from Kobe. The greatest thing he ever did was get a grip on his ego, because once he did that, the sky was the limit. He understood how to be a good captain and a good leader. He understood the value of his coach. He understood the value of his teammates, and he learned how to properly lead them and utilize them. That's a great accomplishment. And most professional athletes, if they don't figure it out early on, they'll never get it. And Kobe Bryant, It took him, what, like 9-10 years to get it. And then once he got it, he never looked back. So, anyways, you guys, with that said, I'll see you tonight for the After Dark, huh? Like the vid if you could. Subscribe to the channel if you want more content like this. Hit that bell if you want to get notified for tonight's After Dark. And, yeah. Be water, my friends.